Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another nonfiction book review. In case you don't know, I'm Dave Ringo. If you're a Doctor Who history buff, like I am, or a book collector, these reviews are designed for you. I'll be taking you through every historical or reference book ever made on the subject of Doctor Who, so that you can decide which ones you want to get. Or if you want to get them all, which ones are out there. If that sounds appealing to you, I invite you to subscribe. Appearing in the scanner today, from the Black Archive series, Hell-Bent by Alyssa Franke. Launched in March 2016 from Obverse Books, the Black Archive is a series of book-length looks at single Doctor Who stories from 1963 to the present. The series editor, Philip Purser Hallard, describes the Black Archive as a series of critical monographs, through which Doctor Who stories can receive the detailed treatment that they so eminently deserve. He says the primary emphasis is on the stories as stories rather than behind-the-scenes history. The archive publishes 12 titles every year in simultaneous digital and print editions. Each title's about 20 to 40,000 words in print form, so that's 100 pages. So although they're called book length, these are kind of right on the edge between a magazine and a book. In comparison, one issue of Doctor Who magazine is only about a dozen pages fewer in length than one of these. Each of these is a study of a single televised Doctor Who story, drawing on all eras of the series' history. The first Black Archive I have decided to review is number 22, the third of a triptych looking at the Series 9 finale, Alyssa Franke's examination of Hell-Bent. I considered doing it with the volumes of Face the Raven and Heaven Sent because I do indeed consider the Series 9 finale a three-part story, but there is enough in this one volume to talk about in a single review, so that's what I'm going to do. In case you don't know, Alyssa Franke is the purveyor of the blog Whovian Feminism, which discusses Doctor Who from, yes, a feminist perspective. You may know her a little bit better as the co-host of the excellent This Week in Time Travel podcast, or of the In Defense Of podcast. You can find her on Twitter at @Whovian Feminism. This was first published in August of 2018 by Obverse Books, and as I said, it's about 100 pages. Franke sees Hell-Bent as an intensely feminist story, which challenges the Doctor's tendency to impose his own forms of closure on the women he travels with. Her aim is to examine, she says, how it explores themes of power, privilege, patriarchy, and autonomy. But that's not where her analysis begins and ends. She also notes the similarities between this episode and films of the Western genre. I actually hadn't even thought of that aspect to this episode, but now that she brings it up, I can't understand how I didn't see it right away. And this kind of sums up Franke's view of the episode. But in my mind, what elevates Hell-Bent from a good episode to a truly great story is how it isn't afraid to confront Doctor Who's own problematic history and make the audience uncomfortable by highlighting some of the Doctor's most profound flaws. I know there are a lot of haters of Hell-Bent out there, particularly among the Who-tubers, but I think that probably has more to do with the fact that Clara was allowed to live than anything else, and a lot of people really wished she died. Franke's book helps us to understand how Clara's ending was actually the culmination of her character arc and could not have been done any other way. Her departure is fitting and was handled correctly. If you want to find out the reasons why, you'll have to read Chapter 3. I find her arguments convincing. As for the pros and cons of the book, Franke's prose is highly readable and insightful. She's an excellent writer. Knowing her personally and being an avid listener of This Week in Time Travel, I couldn't help but hear her voice as I read it. And that was a good thing. Parts I especially like are Franke's discussion of the Doctor's duty of care and his practice of erasing memories in the context of the show. This is in Chapter 1. Chapter 3, though, is the high point for me, only because I think it settles in my mind how Hell-Bent was the perfect wrap-up of the Clara story. If you are in no way concerned about women's issues or gender equality or the portrayal of women in the media, you probably will not be interested in some parts of this book. But I do believe there is something in here for everyone, even the most traditionally minded male. One small thing I disagree with Franke on is her interpretation of the general's remark, "How do you cope with all that ego?" Remember that? A joke about men that Stephen Moffat put into the script, which many of the reactionaries have interpreted as evidence of a feminist conspiracy at the BBC to show the superiority of women over men. Franke attempts to alleviate concerns about the line by arguing that the general is commenting not on males in general, but about the particular male Time Lords that are making her life difficult at the moment. I think that's a bit of a stretch and requires special pleading. If it were true, then the joke wouldn't be a joke at all, and it clearly is. This, of course, still does not mean there's a conspiracy. I think Moffat feels comfortable with humor of that sort, and personally, I thought it was funny. What do you think, Darwin? Yes, I imagine it was something his wife said to him at some point, and he decided to include it. The biggest con, I would say, is in regard to the physical aspects of the book, which would apply to the entire series, actually. While the cover is excellent and looks professional, I love the art and style of it, the interior layout looks like something that could have been printed out at home. The copy is clean, and the paper quality is good, but yeah, it doesn't look like it went through a professional publishing house to me. I do realize that Obverse Books is a small publisher and is trying to keep costs low, but the homemade look of the layout does, I think, bring it down a notch. I also think there should be a series description somewhere in the beginning of the book. Just one page. I had to go to the website to get it, but it would be nice if it were in each book of the series. To sum up, the book is an excellent read, and I do recommend it. You can obtain it directly from the Obverse Books website. I've put a link to it in the description below the video. You can also get it through Amazon. I have a link for that as well. Do you have this book? If so, what do you think of it? What do you think of the Black Archive series in general? Let me know in the comments. I'll have another book review coming in a few days. The next one is a brand new release that you might be interested in. If you'd like to be notified when I post the review, please click on the bell next to the subscribe button. Until then, I'm Dave Ringo, wishing you safe travels in time and space.